السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. We start in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send peace and blessings to noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, the title of my khutbah today is The Pathway to Jannat al-Firdaus. The Pathway to Jannat al-Firdaus. As our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us in the beautiful ahadith, إِذَا سَأَلْتُمُ اللَّهَ الْجَنَّةَ فَاسْأَلُوهُ الْفِرْدَوْسَ. Whenever you get the chance to make dua, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Jannah, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you Jannat al-Firdaus. Because Jannat al-Firdaus is the highest level in Jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us Jannat al-Firdaus. Ameen ya Rabb. But in reality, my respected brothers and sisters, as my dad always tells me, Jannah is not cheap. Jannah is not cheap. We always make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us Jannah, Jannat al-Firdaus, but it comes with work. We have to work towards Jannah. When we work towards Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His own mercy and rahmah, will grant us Jannah bi-idhnillahi azza wa jalla. So inshallah today my khutbah will be focused on Surah Al-Mu'minun and Surah Al-Ma'arij. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken about Jannat al-Firdaus in these two surahs and the character of the people of Jannat al-Firdaus. What are some of the tips and character of these people that made it to Jannat al-Firdaus? My main focus today, inshallah, is to list all these tips that we have in Surah Al-Mu'minun and in Surah Al-Ma'arij. And for us as Muslims, to evaluate ourselves to see where are we in terms of this character that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning in the Quran. The first important tip that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran that we should be all be mindful of is the importance of avoiding shirk and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. As a Muslim, the first important tip, if you want to make yourself towards the pathway of Jannat al-Firdaus, then you have to avoid shirk. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The only reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you, is for you to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. It means as a Muslim, you have to be willing to submit yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your issues, your fears, your concern, every single thing that you go through, you go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. That's the first important tip that we as Muslims we need to understand is to avoid shirk if we want to find our way to Jannat al-Firdaus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from shirk. The second important tip, inshallah, we will go directly to Surah Al-Mu'minun, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listed some few important tips and character about the people of Jannat al-Firdaus and how they made it to Jannat al-Firdaus. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, successful indeed are the believers. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about the people that were successful in this dunya, then they made it to Jannat al-Firdaus. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next couple of ayahs is going to let us know what kind of character did these people have. What kind of act of ibadat did these people used to do in the dunya? And we as Muslims, we need to evaluate ourselves and ask ourselves, where are we in terms of this character that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about to mention in Surah Al-Mu'minun. Second important tip that Allah mentioned about the people of Jannat al-Firdaus. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. The people of Jannat al-Firdaus and how they made it to Jannat al-Firdaus, they were very humble in their salah. They had khushu' in their salah. They had complete concentration in their salah. When it's salah time, and then they decide to pray, they do not think about anybody else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they pray, their zuhr, fajr, asr, maghrib, as soon as they make the first takbir, they do not think about anything about the dunya. Their heart is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying in front of the one that created them from nothing. They have khushu', they have concentration. SubhanAllah, you ask myself, I ask you, ask yourself, when you pray your salah, are you really praying, or where are you when you pray your salah? Are you thinking about your job, your family, your kids, your bills? These people, when they make the first takbir, they have complete concentration, complete khushu'. They submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to have khushu' in our salah. The third important tip about the people of Jannat al-Firdaus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. These people, they have an amazing character. They do not speak ill about people. They do not insult people. They don't say the bad word, the B word, the F word, whatever word we have these days. They try as much as possible to stay silent. They don't gossip about people. They don't backbite about people. They don't make accusations about people. they stay silent. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we need to ask ourselves, do we actually stay silent or are we always talking? And when you talk, what is exactly that you say? You know, the Sahabas and the people that came after the Sahabas, in the whole week, so let's say Monday to Friday, an example, on Friday, they could sit down and write every single thing that they said from Monday to Friday. You know why? Because they barely spoke. They spoke when they have to speak. But as Muslims, I don't even remember what I just said 1 minute ago. I don't, honestly. So ask yourself, when you speak, what kind of conversation do you say? Do you speak about people? Do you insult people? Do you use the bad word, the F word, gossip, backbite? These people of Jannah al-Firdaus, they didn't have that character. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us all. The fourth important tip about the people of Jannah al-Firdaus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. These people of Jannah al-Firdaus, they are committed to paying their zakat every single year. The money that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, the wealth, the job, the 2 different jobs that they have, all that money that they have, they make a promise every single year they will give a percentage for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the people that are in need. As a Muslim, ask yourself, do you pay your zakat? You will be surprised how many people do not pay their zakat every year. You will be surprised. So ask yourself, are you paying your zakat every year? Do you make time to know how much money you made throughout the year that you have to pay zakat? And sometimes paying zakat, a couple of days ago I was having a discussion with a brother, and he told me, Sheikh, for 10 years I have not paid zakat. For 10 years I have not paid zakat. And I asked him why. He said, Wallahi, I don't know. I have it, I just don't want to pay it. And I said to him, make dua and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you to pay the zakat. Because what shaitan does is that shaitan has a way to make you think that you have a lot of money, you have other bills, you have this to pay, you have that, you don't have to give this money to any masjid or any people. No. Do it next year. For 10 good years. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. These people are very committed to praying their zakat. They make sure every single year they make a calculation of how much money they have had. They give it to the needy, the people that are in need. These are the people that made it to Jannah al-Firdaus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to pay our zakat every year. This is tip number 5, 4, 5, 6. I think this is tip number 4, inshallah. We're going to 5 now. Tip number 5 for the people of Jannah al-Firdaus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about in the Quran. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. The people of Jannah al-Firdaus, they protect themselves from zina. The zina of the eyes, the zina of the private part, they constantly protected themselves from committing zina. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all. Tip number 6 about the people of Jannah al-Firdaus and how they made it to Jannah al-Firdaus. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. These people, they are very faithful and trust when it's come to their amana. When people give them something, money, responsibility, any type of conversation, they stick to their word. When you give him something, example, we give you money, I need you to hold this money for me, brother. Even if it's 10 years, you'll come back and then this same brother will give you exactly the same money that you gave without even touching it. So ask yourself as a Muslim, do people trust you with their amana, their conversation, their personal issues that you're going through? When they come up to you and they tell you, brother, I'm going through this, do you keep it as a secret for the sake of Allah? Or you end up telling other people? Can people give you their wealth as an amana? Do people trust you? This is one of the character of the people of the Jannah al-Firdaus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have the amana that when people give their responsibility to us. Ameen ya Rabb. Tip number 7. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. The same people of Jannah al-Firdaus and how they made to Jannah al-Firdaus. They were very committed in helping the needy, the people that were in need. They were constantly trying to find people that they have to help for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For money, clothes, responsibilities, they were constantly trying to find people that were in need so that they could give the help that they need for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a Muslim or as a community, how many times do we try our best to find people that are in need? How many times do we do that? But for the people of Jannah al-Firdaus, they were constantly searching to find people that they could help for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It could be either by money, by food, any kind of resource. The people of Jannah al-Firdaus, they were constantly finding ways to help the people that were in need. So as a Muslim, you need to ask yourself, do you only just think about your family and don't care about the community or what other people are going through? That's not one of the character of the people of Jannah al-Firdaus. They were constantly searching, going doors to doors. The Sahabas, the people that came after the Sahabas, they were constantly going door to door, searching within the community to find a way to help people that were in need. So ask yourself, how much help do you give yourself in your community, in your family, and the people that are next to you? Your neighbor that is next to you, do you know if they are in need of anything? Your friend, your best friend, your cousin, your grandma, your family back home, do you know if they are in need of anything? Make an effort. Call and ask, do you need anything? I could help you. This is one of the characters of the people of Jannah al-Firdaus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to do that. Tip number 8, regarding the people of Jannah al-Firdaus and how they made it to Jannah al-Firdaus. وَالَّذِينَ يُصَدِّقُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. These people, they believed on the day of judgment. They believe that there's going to be a day whereby they're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold them accountable for what they have done. You'll be surprised how many Muslims don't believe in Yawm al-Qiyamah. As we deal with this every single day in the masjid and in our local community. I'm a Muslim, Sheikh. Qiyamah, Judgment Day, Qadr, these angels, it doesn't make no sense. I don't really believe in that. I'm just going to pray. I'll be a Muslim. I will do my Ramadan. I'll pray my Taraweeh. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, I don't really believe it's true. When I die, I'm just going to continue my life on the other side of the world. We have Muslims that believe in that. And we have non-Muslims that believe in that too. But for the people of Jannah al-Firdaus, because they are always thinking of the day that they will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are constantly thinking of their actions, from their salah, to helping their family, to backbiting, to paying zakat, to helping the needy, because they know that there's going to be a day whereby they're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as a Muslim, you should constantly think of this day. The day that you will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The day that there's no shade except the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The day that every single action, either good, either bad, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you accountable for that. And subhanAllah, my respected brothers and sisters, when you have this mindset of knowing that one day you are going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this will increase your iman for you to be righteous. I was speaking to some of my students a couple of days ago, and I got a ticket and I had to go stand in front of the judge to plead guilty or not guilty, whatever the case is. I knew I was not guilty. I knew I was not guilty. But when the judge called me, I got terrified. Yeah. I got terrified. I stood in front of the judge. He was asking me a question. I was still terrified. And this is just a regular human being who's not even a Muslim. But why am I getting terrified because of that? And that's just the dunya. And I was just reflecting on me standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on my actions. The good deeds, the bad deeds, the things that I have done in this dunya. How is that going to play on Yawm al-Qiyamah? So one of the characters of the people of Jannat al-Firdaus is that they are constantly thinking of the day that they will stand in front of Allah. Allah will hold them accountable of their actions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be judging. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be conscious of Him at all times. Tip number 9 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'arij. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. These people, they are constantly thinking of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as a Muslim, you need to have a fine balance. Knowing that I'm doing khayr, I'm praying my salah, I'm trying my best to pray Taraweeh, I come to the masjid every single day. Jannah is my goal. Jannah is where I want to be. Jannah al-Firdaus. But at the same time, you need to be cautious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of His punishment. The Sahabas, Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. You know, the Sahabas will find themselves striving to do good. Praying Qiyam al-Layl, reading Quran, fasting, helping the community, but they are in constant, they have hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept from them. But at the same time, they are in a state of fear. What if Allah does not accept from me? What if I didn't have the right intention? So one of the characters of the people of Jannat al-Firdaus is that they were constantly thinking of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not because they are going to get punished, but for them to be aware that there's going to be a day whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold them accountable. Tip number 10 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'arij. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. These people, they have upheld testimony. They do not lie. But for example, if you have a trouble with somebody and then they call Fulan Kaza, come, did this brother tell you this? No, he didn't. They don't lie. When they are called to testify for whatever situation they find themselves, you could be having a problem with your co-worker at the masjid, your mom, your wife, your cousin, and something happens, and then they call you to ask you what exactly happened. Were you there? These people do not lie. If they were not there, they would say, I was not there. I have no idea what happened. SubhanAllah, how many times do we find ourselves making up stories just to cover up because this person is your friend, or because that's your wife, or because that's your cousin or your brother? The character of the people of Jannat al-Firdaus, when they have to testify, they will speak the truth. They will speak the truth, even that has to go against their own self or the people that they love. فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Inshallah, in the next part of this khutbah, I'll be sharing some practical tips that we all as Muslims should try to implement on our daily basis. So the first part of the khutbah was just me listing all the amazing tips that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about the people of Jannat al-Firdaus. Now, inshallah, I'll be sharing some practical tips for us to implement in our daily life And we hope and trust that Allah's mercy will grant us Jannah. The first important tip that I mentioned was avoiding shirk. Do not associate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with anybody. But my respected brothers and sisters, the only way you're going to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to seek knowledge. You cannot know Allah out of ignorance. And you cannot worship Allah with ignorance. You have to make time. If you really want to know who Allah is, you want to protect yourself and your family from shirk, you have to make time to seek knowledge of who Allah is. That is the way. That's tip number one. Seek knowledge, spend some time, get back to your Quran, get back to your Islamic book, and know who Allah is. Know who Allah is by seeking knowledge. That's the only way, that's the first step. The second important tip that we mentioned was الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Having concentration in Salah. Having complete focus in Salah. We all struggle with this, subhanAllah. Having that concentration for you to feel connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in prayer. Imam al-Ghazali has a book called The Inner Dimension of Worship. And he mentioned some few things that Muslims should be doing before they even start to pray. How many times do we just find ourselves making wudu and then rushing to the Salah? Like without mentally and physically preparing yourself for Salah. We just come, make wudu quickly, and then want to join the Imam. But Imam Ghazali mentioned a lot of tips in that book. But there's one thing that he said. He said, before you pray your Salah, you make wudu, have a moment and then just sit. Have a moment, sit, and reflect upon yourself. Reflect upon why are you praying your Salah. Reflect upon some of the things that you've done throughout the day. If you're praying Isha, reflect upon some of the things that you've done from Fajr to Maghrib. So that when you pray, you know that you're going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after having this long day of things that you were not supposed to do. So make a habit. When you make wudu, spend some time. When the azan is going off, sit, listen to the azan, make dua after the azan, and then prepare yourself spiritually for the salah. That's tip number two, the practical aspect that we could encourage ourselves to be able to have for sure salah. Tip number three that we spoke about was وَالَّذِينَ مَعَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. These people, they do not talk ill about other people. They don't backbite. They don't gossip. My respected brothers and sisters, Imam Asif one time told Bishop Uthman, one of the best ways of not being among the people that are alone, talking about other people, is to stay silent. It's hard to stay silent. Stay silent. The more you talk, trust me, the more you're going to end up saying things that are irrelevant. So if you know you talk a lot, trust me, sit down one day and try to write every single thing that you said. You might not even remember. But when you stay silent, it saves you from talking about people and backbiting people. Tip number 4. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. This one is a hard one. Money. Okay? One of the best tips of reflecting upon yourself for you to be able to give zakat is that. Think of the fact that Allah has granted you ni'mah. Allah has given you a job. Allah has made you wealthy. You have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. You have $500,000 in your account. Somebody else does not have nothing. Think of that. The table could be turned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So think of that some other people are in need of this zakat. That should be the motivation for you to give your zakat. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. Protecting your private parts. One of the practical aspects of this ayah is that lower your gaze. Lower your gaze. When you lower your gaze, it protects you from zina. If you're struggling with zina, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you. But it starts with you by lowering your gaze and then making dua and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you. Tip number 6, the practical way in terms of amana. If you are somebody that's not trustworthy, people cannot trust you. Start with yourself. Make time and hold yourself accountable of your actions. Stick to your words. When you say you're going to do something, stick to it and build yourself up. And then, bi'idhnillahi azza wa jalla, people will start to trust you and they give the amana to you. وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. Helping people that are in need. One of the practical ways of finding a way to help other people is to look at yourself and think of all the ni'mah that Allah has given you. You have a house, you're healthy, you're not sick, you have a house to stay, you eat good food. Think of the other people that are in need. When you think of that, that will give you empathy for you to try your best to help other people. The practical way, in terms of having the belief that Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to happen, is to seek knowledge. Seeking knowledge is what's going to give you a reality in terms of this is not the way it looks like. The dunya is not the way it looks like. This is just temporary, and we are going to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's going to go to the council. The practical tip for tip number 9 is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. Is to be mindful of your actions in this dunya. When you do something locally, like an example, let's say you run the red light, the cops stop you, there's going to be consequences. Or you hurt somebody or injured somebody, and then the cop comes, you might get in trouble. That's just the dunya. Think of the same thing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you don't rectify your actions and make tawbah, and then come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment is, as mentioned in the Quran. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. Be a person of truth. The people of Jannah al-Firdaus were people of truth. If you're a person that lie, a lie, you make up stories, you never tell the truth. One of the practical ways of finding yourself to rectify yourself, to start speaking the truth, is to think of the 2 angels that are next to you. The 2 angels that are next to you, that are constantly writing every single thing that you do and every single thing that you say. When you are conscious of that, you're going to be mindful of your speech and you're going to be mindful of the things that you say. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the tawfiq, us to be able to implement all these actions. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us Jannah, not Jannah, but Jannah al-Firdaus with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إيمانا ونورا ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار يرحم الله يا رب العالمين. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا